City of Stevens Point Police and Fire Commission meeting, recorded October 5, 2021.
All right, it's 2:01. I will call to order the October 5th meeting of the Stevens Point Police and Fire Commission. Leanne, would you be kind enough to please call the roll?
Kirschling.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Mrozek.
Here.
Ostrowski.
Here.
Westcott.
Present.
And I'm just going to let everyone know that I have a commitment at 3 p.m. So at that time, I will be leaving the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Mrozek. And again, for the record, any vote the commission takes after Commissioner Mrozek departs, please reflect that she has been excused after 3 o'clock. Thank you. Okay, item 2 is the COVID update, the monthly important update from both our fire, EMS, and police departments. Chief Finn, I'll recognize you, and I think we have Assistant Chief Gemza standing by in the wings. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And I'm going to turn it over to Chief Gemza because I know I gave such a great report last month, but he'll do a much better job this time.
Chief Gemza, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. First off, I'm pleased to announce that the personnel of Stevens Point Fire Department have started to do their third dose of the Pfizer vaccine. Those that have been that are eligible for that. We've worked with Portage County Healthcare, Gary Garski, and we have started to start getting the third dose in the booster. Email was sent out to all the first responder groups and law enforcement this morning, telling them that Portage County Healthcare will start doing that on Tuesdays and Wednesdays starting next week. And they just got to register online, and they will come in with their card and they will get their booster. Any questions about the booster?
Joe, that's just in regards to the first responders, correct?
That is correct. First, fire, EMS, and law enforcement are eligible for that. The 65 and older have been eligible for it, and they have been getting those boosters also. But again, it's only for the Pfizer, and it's only if it's 6 months after your second shot.
Right. Now, Moderna, as Joseph knows, goes in front of the FDA seeking final approval. I think it's the 12th, Joseph, and Johnson & Johnson sometime this week.
And as the Portage County Health gets that, we also sent out a list of the local pharmacies that are doing it also. So, and that if they wanted to meet with their healthcare provider, they're more than welcome to. Most healthcare providers can offer them the vaccine also.
Right. Okay, please continue, sir.
So quickly, Portage County, as of right now, as of the 30th, the last update, 18 positives, 9 probables. Portage County is considered a high transmission county at this point, along with the entire state of Wisconsin. As far as vaccines go, on first dose, 1 dose, 53% of the residents have been vaccinated and 50.7% have completed. The Delta variant is the one that they're predominantly seeing at this time. And as far as the last notification regarding the breakthrough cases, 1.6 of those since January have been vaccinated. And as far as the Delta variant goes, and since January, 98, the rest of that 98% would be the ones that were unvaccinated. So 1.6% of vaccinated people have been diagnosed with the breakthrough Delta COVID at that point. As far as beds go and how we're doing overall, North Central region, hospital beds are at 92.7% capacity. ICU beds are at 95.4% capacity. Vents in use are 27%. The hospitals that are working at peak capacity, and that, remember, North Central is from basically us, and then we go all the way up to the Upper Peninsula, and that's our HERC region. Hospitals at peak capacity are at 82.4%. ICUs are at 100% capacity, and med surges are at 82%. As far as the university, UWSP goes, employees are at 85.7% vaccinated and students are at 57% vaccinated. The mask mandate stays in place for UWSP through October 31st. UWSP has agreed to continue with their antigen testing, and that's open to the public and students. Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 8 to 4, and Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8 to 6. And that can be done at the Science Building in Stevens Point here in room C124. So that's my report at this point. Are there any questions?
Joseph, how does the vaccination rate of 57% among UW Stevens Point students, do we know how that compares to other campuses that have been reported around the state, Madison, LaCrosse, Platteville, Eau Claire?
Unfortunately, I have not measured that against where they're at. I do know that they have UWSP, or the University of Wisconsin system has, they have that was 70 for 70 for a $7,000 scholarship. That's still active, I believe, through the end of this month for students. The $100 for vaccination, I believe that ended the end of September, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
It did.
Okay.
And how are we doing for supplies, protective gear, the equipment we need to meet the protocols, safety protocols?
As of right now, we are doing well. Our supply chain has not been broken like we saw earlier in the COVID thing. As of right now, it appears that all of our suppliers have the ability to get us the supplies that we need.
Are we still operating an ambulance or two exclusively for COVID, or have we backed away from that?
No, we've backed away from that at this time. We've since bought a couple decon units that have the ability to, they're ionized, they're charged particles. So when they have anybody when they're done, they spray it, and those charged particles go around anything that's in the ambulance, and they sanitize the ambulance.
Would you, and I'm going to open it up for the commission in a moment, so please forgive me for having so many questions. You want to talk a little bit, Joseph, about the flu season coming and the concerns in the medical community about COVID and flu?
So yeah, the medical community does have some concerns regarding the flu vaccine, or the flu season coming up. We hope to be working with our partners in the CBRFs and the nursing homes in order to work on a plan like we had done in the past couple of years regarding any areas or any of the CBRFs or nursing homes that have an outbreak of the flu. As of right now at Stevens Point Fire Department, the city is offering the flu vaccine, I believe on the 13th of October, where we'll have the vaccine available to us. And as of right now, our hope is that we can continue with what last year's flu looked like regarding transmissions, which was very low.
All right, let me pause for a moment. Questions from commissioners for the Chief of EMS, Joe Gemza? Bob, did you have a hand up, or?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Joe, I'm also hearing reports that with some of these reports of limited hospital beds, limited ICU beds, what about professional hospital staff availability? I'm hearing some reports of shortages, potential shortages. What are you hearing?
So
in staff?
Yeah, I really can't speak on the staffing of Aspirus and St. Michael's hospitals on where they're at regarding that. I do know that they are moving many patients out of the area into areas that they can accept patients, whether that's a COVID patient or just a regular patient. We know that their availabilities are stretched, but I really can't speak on their staffing.
All right, thank you, Joseph. Chief Center, what would you add from the police department's perspective, please?
Really won't add too much. We've thought we'd have a little bit more problem with the masking issues involving our area schools last month. Other than a couple hiccups, we really have not been dispatched, other than we've had some verbal communications and disputes between groups. I'll leave it at that, but things have gone very smoothly.
All right. And of course, we're all mindful of the fact the city of Fond du Lac lost a police officer to COVID, so we're maintaining a high degree of vigilance at all times. Okay. Any questions for either Chief Zenner, Chief Gemza, or Chief Finn? Chief Finn, did you want to add something, sir?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bob. All right, I don't think we need any motions if there are no other questions. With that, let's move to item 3, the approval of the minutes. Commissioners, you have the minutes in front of you. Leanne, would you take just a moment or two and explain to the commission some changes as far as these minutes being submitted to the Common Council for review? Commissioners likely have noted there's a sentence above that. These minutes are unofficial and subject to modification upon review of the Police and Fire Commission or the Commission at their next meeting. Leanne, would you just spend a moment and explain to commissioners how the minutes are actually going to the Common Council prior to being finalized by the commission? I want to make sure every commissioner understands what we're doing here.
Sure. So I was contacted by the city clerk's office, Carrie Enter, and she asked that the minutes be submitted just for the following Common Council meeting. Usually we're a month behind, and I was asked to start doing them so that they're prepared for the Common Council meeting. And I will have just like you saw, what can you see on the minutes? It says they're not finalized until they're actually approved by the commission. That's going to be on every one now, every minute I submit.
Good. All right, commissioners, thoughts on the minutes from the, from the September 14th meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Kirschling. Is there a second?
I would go ahead.
Second by Commissioner Mrozek. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
I'll say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 3, item 4, the confirmation of the bills. Commissioner Ostrowski, we'll start with you, sir.
The only thing I have for them today is I would like to remind the commissioners that when you're comparing the overall budget and the ones submitted for the particular month, you need to add those because particular month is not in the running budget. So you need to add that to remind you of what the real totals are. My only comment is I see that we continue to need to press headquarters when they're doing budgeting to make some changes in technology allocations, because that's where we're always running over. And I, for one, like to stay within budgets as much as possible. So I just feel it's a misallocation of funds. We need to allow more for technology. Other than that, I have no problems.
Any questions from other commissioners for Chief Finn or Chief Zenner regarding bills submitted from police or fire or EMS?
No. I'll make a motion to accept those bills.
All right, motion from Commissioner Kirschling, seconded by Commissioner Ostrowski to accept the bills, place them on file. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 5, the fire chief's report, including EMS. Chief Finn, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. I believe all members of the commission have received the EMS report from Chief Gemza and the fire activity report from Chief Moody. I'd like to note, and first of all, let me start with this, please. I informed the commission last month of one of our members, Captain Paul Matlin, was diagnosed with cancer. The reason that we are in t-shirts is this is what the local is selling. It has Paul's number on there. And on the back, it's a fist. It says his fight is our fight. Paul started chemo last Friday. And as always, our thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family. But what I want to take a moment here and thank Local 484's President Ben Molnar, and Assistant Chief Moody. They've worked with other fire departments and locals, and I'm going to name them. Wausau Chief Bob Bartek in Local 415, Marshfield Chief Scott Owen, Local 1021, Wisconsin Rapids Chief Scott Young, Local 425, Anagos Chief John Petrusky, Local 1000, and Ashland's Fire Chief Stuart Mathis, Local 875. The reason I mention them departments is that between the work of President of Local 484, Ben Molnar, and Chief Moody, these departments are going to order these t-shirts, and they're going to be called Matlin Mondays in central and north central Wisconsin from now to the end of the year. So all these fire departments I just named, the chiefs approved to let these guys wear them as a duty shirt. And I just want to thank them and say, you know, it just shows that the firefighter community is a true brotherhood and sisterhood. So that's what I want to start my report with. And then next, I'd be remiss, didn't say anything about Fire Prevention Week, but I'm going to let the Fire Marshal Egan, he's right here in my office, and he's going to explain what's going on for Fire Prevention Week and Fire Prevention Month, and some of the stuff that we had planned that we had to change due to the COVID variants.
Good afternoon, commissioners. So, of course, this week is Fire Prevention Week. This year it's October 3rd through the 9th. Always falls on the week of the Great Chicago Fire. As Chief Finn said, unfortunately, we're not going to be physically in the schools this year as we usually were, but we have quite a few activities planned throughout the community and for the schools as well. So this year we have, again, a pretty robust Facebook campaign, both on smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors, how they work, how they should be installed, what you should do if you hear one going off. And that's actually this year's fire prevention theme. So every year there's a theme chosen. This year's is learn the sounds of fire safety. As well for the schools, we are putting on a chalk drawing. We're calling it Chalk One Up for Fire Safety. So we're trying to find a way to get kids outside. I know that the schools are concerned about some of the personal interactions. So COVID-friendly activities where kids will hopefully be going outside, drawing some chalk drawings with a fire safety message, and then submitting those to us so that we can post them publicly on our Facebook. We are still delivering the annual PFFW fire safety newspapers to the schools, however. So they are getting a direct paper message from us in the schools, which is always a good thing. And then a lot of the work that we put in last year as well has come back to help us this year. So I couldn't do any of this without Shane Westfall. He helps me immensely with these programs. And last year, he and I did some extensive filming of truck tours, ambulance tours with kind of a repeat factor to them where, you know, we could use them over and over and the teachers have something to show the kids in the classroom. Other things too, for adults, we kind of kicked off the very end of last month and this month with a few fire extinguisher training. So we're rapidly approaching almost 300 people trained on the fire extinguisher prop that we have. And then it's kind of funny that it fell on this week as well. So even though the theme is learn the sounds of fire safety, we are focusing as well on those in our community that have a hearing disability. And we're actually installing a bed shaker smoke detector alarm system in a resident's home this week. And that was all free of charge through us and our partner with the Red Cross. So busy week for all of us here at the fire department, but we're doing good.
Are there any questions for our training officer? Thank you, sir. Good luck. Keep up the good work. Yes, Commissioner Ostrowski, I'm sorry.
That last thing is an interesting one to me, being somebody that's hard of hearing myself. How does somebody in a community find out about getting such a device as a bed shaker like that?
So the program is sponsored by the Red Cross. They work with most fire departments throughout the state. So they kind of, through me, monitor how many smoke alarms we have on the premises here. We usually keep a stock so that if somebody calls in and has a need, whether they can't afford them or they're just not in the apartment or whatever even if they just want some extra in their homes, we have them available to go do the installations. That's another kind of unique feature is we do the installations ourselves. They're never just given out so that we can ensure they're installed properly, which is a big part of making sure your smoke alarms actually work correctly. But really the program is driven on kind of how much the department wants to push it. So we have gotten in contact with a couple of other people that have had these devices. This is actually the third one I've installed, I believe, since I've taken the position. So the ADRC sometimes reaches out to us. I'll put things out on social media occasionally. They kind of trickle in, but we push the program pretty hard and just make sure it's known through the organizations that have more contact with some of those citizens out there that we might not know where they are, but they're getting help through other organizations. They know that we have those available.
Thank you very much. That's very informative.
Are there other questions regarding Fire Prevention Week? All right, thank you. Chief Finn, do you wish to continue your report?
Thank you, Commissioners.
Yes, thank you, sir. I'll have a couple of questions on the EMS and a couple of questions on the fire report when you're ready for questions, but please continue, sir.
Last month, there was a discussion on basement flooding issues here at Station 1.
Yes.
After many discussions with utilities and public works, a company came in or is coming in to backflush and jet the drain tiles and sump pump piping, and then scope it to see if there's any collapsed piping. The way it was explained to me is over the years, these drain tiles, they get clogged and the water cannot go in fast enough or get pumped out fast enough. Therefore, the water's coming up through the floor. This was the most economical way to start, and we're going to start from there. So I thought I'd give you an update on that. Any questions? Because I know there was questions last month, and we did have numerous discussions on this, and this was what was determined would be the best way to start the process. Any questions on the
Has that work been scheduled?
Chief Moody's he's going to answer that.
JB?
Oh, yes, sir. It has been scheduled. Bruder Plumbing out of Nakusa is going to be doing the work for us, and it is scheduled for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Wow. Yes.
Good. Thank you. Very good. Chief Finn?
Okay. Our training site is cleared all permitting issues from the DNR and the state. The infrastructure bids for water, sewer, and broadband. The bids went out and they're due this week. And hopefully in November, we'll have a lot more to report on the progress of the training site. But we did clear the hurdles with the state.
Would you refresh the commission's memory, just in general terms, what those issues were again?
The issues
Broad
were
brush strokes here, Bob. Broad brush strokes.
okay. I'm going to let Chief Moody because he can explain it better than I can.
Sure. JB, what were the issues again?
So the big issues were the water runoff and the water retention were some of the big issues. So what we had to look at was where is the water actually going? Where is it being pitched? Where is it going to be stored? And then the other thing we were looking at were the actual street sweepings, and that's the material we were actually using as our base layer in the training center.
Good. Thank you, sir. Chief Finn, please continue.
If you notice on the report, right at the beginning, we received our new utility truck, 51U1. It was delivered yesterday. With a lot of heads up notice that it was coming. And along with that, a new trailer was purchased for the training site. That utility truck was in the 2021 capital.
Mm-hmm.
The trailer was taken out of the training budget. And we also received a $5,000. We found out yesterday that we received a $5,000 grant from the DNR, and we're going to purchase safety equipment with that.
Good. Great. Good news.
Other than that, any questions on the report? And then I'll have, after questions, I'll have something to say.
I just have a couple of questions, and maybe Chief Gemza wants to do this as part of the EMS, or you can, Chief, but would one of you just talk briefly about the uniqueness of putting 4 ventilators and ambulances and the reason for that? That's actually an innovative step that very few areas are doing, and I applaud all of those of you who are involved in this. Joseph, you want to take that?
I sure can. Early on, the state, during COVID, I would say in May or April of this year, the state sent out an email to service providers and hospitals in the area asking if they would like to be part of this ventilator stewardship program with the state. We obviously said, yes, we would, being centrally located. A couple weeks ago, they contacted me saying that you are part of this program. And in the nutshell, the program is the state took 1,500 ventilators out of their warehouses and decided that they would be better utilized out in the communities and put in areas. And then therefore, if an entity needed them, whether it's an ambulance service, a hospital, or a clinic, that they would then reach out to whoever is holding them. And then they would borrow them out to them while they needed them. We obviously thought, well, that's a great idea for us based on the fact that we have an ambulance service and paramedics. And so we reached out to them. They called us, said that we were accepted in that. Part of the agreement is it's a 3-year maintenance agreement that the state is going to cover any issues or anything along those lines. The ventilators need to be recalibrated every 3 years. They said when that time comes, they will send us 4 ventilators and we will send our 4 back, and then they will be dispersed again. Other than that, that's kind of the short and the quick of it. Each ventilator has been appraised at about $25,000 each. So it's kind of a big deal. And these are, when you look at upgrading your medical equipment, the ventilators that we have are a little over 15 years old. These are brand new. They have the ability to nebulize treatment for patients. They have the ability to continuous positive airway for patients, suction patients, and give us a better, smoother ability to breathe for our patients in the respiratory realm when we do intubate them. So
it clearly gives our paramedics another key tool to help save lives, right, Joseph?
Absolutely. These are these ventilators are 4 times what we currently are carrying. It gives us options regarding to give, like I said, a better, smoother transition in their capabilities to breathe and their capabilities to breathe for people. And so with that, we're really excited about it. We currently are working out an agreement with St. Michael's Hospital respiratory therapists to come in and help train our medics. Dr. Clark has training next month based on the upgrades of these ventilators and how we're going to utilize them in our protocols.
Good. Are there questions for Chief Finn, Assistant Chief Gemza, or Moody from other commissioners before I return it to Chief Finn?
Gary? One
Yeah,
question. Chief Gemza, will everybody on the department be eventually trained on those ventilators?
That is correct. This will be a department-wide training.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Chief Finn, you have the floor.
I want to inform the commission that after 45 years in the fire service, that I have sent my letter to my liaison, Commissioner Kurtzman, and President Westcott, that I will be retiring. When I said 45 years in the fire service, last 14 with Stevens Point Fire Department, I will be retiring on January 3rd of 2022. I'll have a lot more to say when it gets closer to the date. Someone joked around, you don't want to thank anybody because knowing me, the list can get longer or the list can get shorter by now in December. So I might have to hold off on the list. That wasn't my idea. And they brought up a good point. But It was a tough decision. It wasn't made quickly, and yeah, I'll have a lot more to say at the December meeting. But it's been an honor and a privilege to serve alongside the men and women of this department and serve this community.
Well, you started here not as the chief, you came here in a different capacity, didn't you?
I was hired as a deputy chief. I was in that position for like a year and a half. Then I was assistant chief of fire department operations, and then I became chief. I've been chief for, when I got the position, I promised the police and fire commissioner, I believe the president was Dave Schleich at the time, that I give you a minimum of 5 years if they would, if you guys would have me. And it's been 7.5. So.
All right, let me do a couple of things here. First and foremost, I have received Chief Finn's letter of retirement or resignation. I'm going to need a motion to accept what he has submitted to the commission and to place it on file. That would be our first step. Commissioner Kirschland?
Yeah, I'll make that motion to accept that letter of resignation or retirement.
Is there a second?
Having come on about the same time as Chief Finn, I'd be honored to second that.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the letter of retirement dated October the 5th. Is there discussion on the motion? All in favor of accepting the chief's retirement letter, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Both say no. Motion carries. Leanne, I have sent to you electronically Chief Finn's letter. I'm going to ask that you electronically share that letter with Mayor Wiesa, the City Attorney Beveridge. If there are commissioners who have not received it from Bob, please send, why don't we just send it to all commissioners to be on the safe side? And let's send a copy of this also to Lisa Yakush in HR to get it started. If you take care of that for me or for the commission, on behalf of the commission, we'd appreciate it. As Bob said, there'll be plenty of opportunity to talk about his years of service in the city of Stevens Point. I think the thing that certainly comes to mind just sitting here is what the pandemic meant not only to the fire service, EMS, but the police, the constant changing protocols, safety procedures, how to handle, I mean, to the point, as commissioners remember, we had to declare a state of emergency in the city of Stevens Point to assist the fire service in handling the pandemic and the police. The next, does any commission want to offer a thought here on Bob at this time? Commissioner Kirschland, you're the liaison. I'll give you an opportunity. We'll have an opportunity for.
Yeah, I think we'll talk more about it
Okay. All right.
more in December, but I've thoroughly enjoyed working with Chief Finn over the years, and like I say, I think we'll talk more about it in December.
I think so. Jerry, Denise, Bob, anybody? I just want to make sure I give everybody a chance here. Okay.
My only comment is the department moved nothing but forward as far as I was concerned, and I thank you, Chief Finn.
Chief Center, any thoughts? I mean, you had the opportunity to work with this gentleman for a little while before we move to the next level here.
Absolutely. It's been an honor to work with Bob. Bob's a true friend and has been an excellent resource for me during the last year and a half, 2 years, even before that. So I look forward to enjoying a good 3 months or so, and we'll talk after this.
All right, commissioners, just to get us started here, there will need to be another meeting, a special meeting of the Police and Fire Commission in the near future for us to map out a forward strategy here. In the interim, I'm going to ask, Lisa, you're with us here today. I don't have everybody on my screen. I, of course, use Apple, which limits. Lisa Yakush from HR, you're here too?
Yes, I am.
All right, now either you or Leanne help me out here. We recently updated all job descriptions, so we should have a pretty up-to-date position description I see the state calls them position descriptions. The city still call them job descriptions?
Yes, we do. Yes, Commissioner Kirschling made sure that that job description was updated earlier this spring. So we should be in good shape there. I can forward it back to him for review by the commission if you'd like.
I would like that very much. Would you please send to the commission and to Leanne the updated job description for that position to see if it requires any type of additional modification. But as Lisa just mentioned, that has been done within the last few months. So we should be in pretty good shape there. Leanne, if you would start pulling together the materials that were used years ago, and these will need updating, very similar to the updates that we had to provide when we posted the position for police chief. We'll need to update the position, how we post it, how we basically want to advertise it, and the other materials. And Lisa, you work with the commission on helping get that posted, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll need to have a special meeting at some point in the next couple of weeks and we pull some of that together. Are there questions from the commissioners on process moving forward here?
Gary, I'd like to move faster rather than slower. As soon as the commission can meet for that special meeting, even if we can meet this week, I'd be for it.
Okay, if that's possible, sure. If any, and I'm not going to ask you to do it publicly here on Zoom, but if any commissioner has a conflict with a special meeting, let's see if we can pull it together first. I mean, there's a lot of material to pull together, and not only pull it together, Joseph, but as you remember, there was a lot of rewriting for the material that we used in our police chief search. So pulling together the material is easy for Lisa and Leanne. It's updating and writing the new narrative here. That's going to take some work, but that has to be a part of the meeting. So if we can get it done this week, commissioners, if you do have any scheduled conflict this week, if we can pull it all together, would you please let Leanne know that? And as I used to say in a previous life, we'll stand subject to call of the chair. Okay, questions? All right, well.
Gary, one last question.
Yeah,
I think we're still reviewing EMS fire. I was wondering
absolutely.
I was wondering from Assistant Chief Genza what the status of any new units for the ambulance service are, where we're at.
Do you mean new ambulances?
Yes,
Yep.
I believe we were scheduled.
Okay.
Yes,
sorry.
we were supposed to take delivery of them by this month. We were notified a couple months, well, at the beginning, towards the beginning of the summer, that they weren't even being built due to a chip shortage and material shortage. I was notified by county garage that they were going to start building the chassis. So the hope was that we are still on schedule for the first part of 2022 for delivery of them. The issue is really a supply and demand type of issue. It is not no other holdup. They've been ordered, they've been approved, and we're just waiting on the build.
Thank you, Joseph.
We have a motion that has been made to accept and voted on to accept the letter of retirement from Chief Finn, but I do need a motion to accept, if there are no further questions, the fire chief's report, including the EMS report, if there are no further questions. I'll entertain such a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the fire chief's report and the EMS report.
A second.
Second by Commissioner Mrozek. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Okay, that takes us to the next conversation, the update on collaborative problem solving in light of today's announcement. It's important. I think we have a conversation about which direction and how we want to proceed with this. Commissioner Kirschling, you're the liaison to fire. I'll begin. You have thoughts on this, sir?
I do. I think that we should postpone the collaborative problem solving process. Chief Finn is not there, the main person. I think the new chief, the chief that's going to be there long term, needs to be part of it. So it's my opinion that we postpone it until 2022.
Other thoughts? Commissioner Ostrowski, then I'm going to call on the city attorney, so I'll warm me up, Logan, because I want you to briefly address the dual tracks, as a former alderperson used to say. Right now we have negotiations either commencing and then this process. I would like you to talk a little bit about that. Commissioner Ostrowski.
I would follow Joe's line of thinking. To me, in light of today's announcement, I don't think that is a necessary item at this time. We have other things to work on. Not put it away entirely, but put it off till the next chief is in place.
Commissioner Moroza, Commissioner Moore.
Yeah, I would be in agreement with that in light of today's news that we can postpone that and, bring that up in, once we get our new chief hired.
Agree.
Yeah, the key to collaborative problem solving, one of the many, many keys, is to have the central decision makers part of the process, as commissioners know, and that would not be the case here. City Attorney, you still with us, sir?
I am.
Hi, Logan. So if the commission postpones this, that wouldn't create any issue as far as moving the negotiations back on the main track here, would it?
No, and just to be clear for everybody's information here, the only concern that I had about sort of doing those very close in time to each other, or even overlapping possibly, was just that the bargaining process is dictated by statute, and you want to make sure that you sort of maintain a clean record, so to speak, of just the proceedings of that of bargaining. And I just wanted, I was going to help make sure that everybody was on the same page in terms of not letting bargaining issues bleed over into the collaborative process, which I didn't think was impossible by any means, but was just going to take a little bit of mindfulness on everybody's part. So definitely postponing that until, presumably until bargaining is completed. Will at least make that a little bit easier to maintain a separation between those two things.
And I don't know if all the commission knows, I can't remember if we discussed it at the last meeting or not, but the bargaining process has officially started between the union and the city.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there other comments, thoughts? I think there is consensus. We'll need a formal motion. I'm going to at least float this as an idea. I don't want to cancel this process. I would like to at least postpone it by motion and postpone it until after the new chief has been selected and works with the new chief, something along those lines. Commission's comfortable with them. I still think the vast majority of reasons that exist to do this will still exist, but the process of collaborative problem solving needs to be available to the new chief, no matter who she or he is. So postpone it.
I'll make a motion to postpone the collaborative problem solving until 2022, or a new chief is hired, until after a new chief is hired.
Okay, I'll second that motion. I'll second it. Is there further discussion?
Sense.
I'm sorry, what, Jerry?
Said makes sense to me.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's call the roll on it so we have a formal record of it. You're voting to postpone until the new chief is hired and in place by the city of Stevens Point.
Pershling,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Rozek,
Yes.
Ostrowski,
Yes.
Westcott.
Yes. All right, thank you. Let's move, because I know the city attorney and Lisa's time are precious, and I appreciate both of you staying here. Update with possible action on the exit interview procedures for the police and fire department. In our meeting last month, some conversations kind of coalesced around having two commissioners perform the exit interview involving HR's office, utilizing Leanne's office, the issuance of an independent written questionnaire that would be returned. The questions had come up about having not two alders, old habits sometimes, two commissioners in the same room at the same time. And I asked the city attorney that question, and he's here, so I'll let him share with the commission what he shared with
Gary, I have
me.
a quick procedural thing. You skipped over approval of fire department entry-level hiring list.
I did that intentionally. I kind of wanted to move Oh,
Yep,
thank
that's
you,
fine.
Chief.
I just didn't know if that needed
Yeah.
approval or not.
Yeah, we'll have to approve it, but I don't want to have the city attorney and Lisa have to stay here much longer.
Got
Logan, Logan, any concerns with two commissioners in the room at the same time doing something?
No, I think that's just fine, and especially considering that it'll be for a very defined purpose that does not run afoul of any of the open meetings elements there on the basis of the number of people involved. So no concerns on my part.
Okay, all right, thank you. I still like the framework that we discussed last month, the two commissioners. Right now, when somebody retires, either Lisa, who gets the primary notification? Fire and police, or does it go straight to Lisa?
You said retired.
When somebody leaves the service. All right, or leave. Thank you. When somebody leaves service, the point of, yeah, go ahead, Bob. Bob.
When a firefighter usually resigns or retires, they usually send me, they
Right.
usually send the chief a letter saying their intentions, and then I forward it on to Lisa, and then she takes care of the paperwork there. We don't have a written policy. The past has always been that they want an exit interview with the chief. Some have declined and some have said yes, and it's more of an informal exit interview, nothing really formal.
And that's the same way over in police, right, Tom?
Yes.
And the thinking there is, Lisa, you want to spend just a moment and tell the commission what role you have in getting everyone off-boarded, moved on to something else?
Certainly. So generally, people come to see me on their last day of employment, especially if they are retiring. If they're retiring, they have a post-employment health plan benefit that exists in both the police and fire bargaining units. So we go through that benefit. I go through health insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, what they're going to do. Are they going to stay in our plan, not stay in our plan? Those are the big pieces that I handle with those employees on the last day.
So I think the commission's thinking here, commissioners jump in here anywhere, that when someone says, I'm leaving, and it's in writing to either one of our chiefs, the chief sent it to Lisa for processing. Our thinking at the time was that Lisa could add to her checklist of things she just went through, contacting the employee and offering an exit interview to be conducted by two members of the Police and Fire Commission. Are we still comfortable with that?
Yes. That was my understanding.
All right. Lisa.
Gary,
ahead,
you wanted
Joseph.
Lisa in there as well, correct?
Joseph, that's what I really like about you. You're always 2 steps ahead of me anyway. So, yes. And then I think Lisa, given the time constraints, would also participate in the exit interview with the commissioners if you're comfortable with that and have the time. Lisa?
I'd be happy to do that. I know that in the policy that was recently approved by the City Council for the balance of the City of Stevens Point employees, what I have been trying to do is trying to do those in conjunction with their offboarding. So it's on the same day. I'm giving them the opportunity to meet or not meet. So that's something I could certainly schedule with the 2 members of the Police and Fire Commission to handle that process as well. I would offer it in advance to the offboarding employee, and then and try to get that scheduled on their last day. I don't like to have people come back. It's kind of more of a natural flow if they do it on their last day. I know that the policy that the city approved for the balance of the employees has a list of basically 12 questions, and that's what I've been using, and it seems to have worked really well. I also watched the video from the Police and Fire Commission from September and noticed that there was discussion and a bit of discomfort about an outside party being contracted to do that, provide that service as well. I share the same concern, quite honestly. I think that is likely, I think they wanted that piece in there because I'm a department of one. So if I walk across Church Street on my way out of the building after work today and get hit by not a city bus, but a school bus, there's nobody else to fill this chair. So what are we going to do? We're not going to stop doing exit interviews, so we might then need to contract with an outside vendor. Again, I don't anticipate that. That would not be my favored way of handling this process at all. I just wanted to reiterate that because I know there was concern by several members of the PFC at the September meeting.
At least from my perspective, other than don't walk across Church Street, I think if you were unavailable, but so-and-so is completed the offboarding process and such is their date, we can always have Leanne, who has the same administrative credentials, at least as far as confidentiality is part of it, to be in the room. And again, a key comment that several of you have made here is we're offering the employee the exit interview. You cannot require it. At least I'm not aware of anything under the law. Logan, you can't legally require an exit interview, can you? No.
How could you enforce it?
Yeah, I'm gonna say there's no way you can make them do it. Logan, you want to weigh in? Or
I think, potentially, so long as somebody is still employed, you could direct them to participate in it. Well, you could direct them to attend an interview, but you couldn't compel them to
talk. Yeah. All right. So the way I look at it, actually, I'm going to pause. I want to hear some other thoughts. Joe, Jerry, Bob, Denise, is this kind of the direction we all want to go? Is there a consensus? I don't want to wander too far here. Jerry?
Well, as long as we offer it to them and they do it of their own choice, I think that's fine. I don't know that there's any great value in forcing someone to do this, because you're not going to get a decent, you're not going to find the information you're looking for anyways. So, offer it up. Two of us can go do it. If Lisa wants to take care of that and schedule it, thank you very much. And, we can find two members to find the time or make the time to be able to go and attend.
Would we be communicating then the two that attend these, would those people be communicating back in like a closed session with the rest of the PFC to kind of an overview of if there's any areas that, glaring that we need improvement, or stating, their thoughts or what's working great, what's not? I guess, what do we want to do with the information that we receive?
I have some thoughts on that, but I'd like the city attorney to address the legalities of that. You and Commissioner Kirchling hypothetically do an exit interview. You've got all sorts of eye-opening information that has to be shared with the commission. Logan, how can we legally do that, sir?
So how can the information gathered at an exit interview be shared with the commission?
Right.
I guess I'm unsure as to what exactly the thought would be there in terms of that being complicated or difficult. It could just...
I don't think it's anything complicated. I'm sorry to do that too. My recommendation, unless the city attorney says no, is once the exit interview information is gathered, to be shared through email with all the other commissioners. I don't think you're not asking them to take any action other than to be aware of it. I think if a commissioner goes, I have major red flags and issues here, then you communicate with the president of the commission, and an appropriate meeting is scheduled, and probably might involve legal counsel too. So I think that's kind of what we do with it. Because also on top of that, at least I'm still interested, if the commission is too. Lisa, you may remember months ago, you sent to me the city's written questionnaire that is sent independently of the exit interview. I really like the way that was assembled. Are you still using that? Is that still available if the commission wants to use it?
I still have it available. I'm no longer using it for regular city employees, since we have, a policy in place that offers them the opportunity for face-to-face. But I think I sent you that form, and if you need me to, I'd be happy to share it again.
Well, my thinking is we offer them the face-to-face. If they take the face-to-face, do we need to do the written questionnaire? If they don't want to do face-to-face, then we send them the written questionnaire. That's kind of my thinking.
Is that a question for Lisa?
That's actually a question for the commission. I mean, our current thinking is there'll be 2 commissioners doing the exit interview once you're contacted by Lisa. You'll do the exit interview, whatever material, Commissioner Rosie had a great question, whatever material, the results of that exit interview are then shared with the commissioners. If there are room and areas that have to be improved, things that need to be addressed by the commission, then that becomes subject of a special meeting. If it's just a good exit interview,
and if
just
they
move
fail,
on.
and if they fail to attend but complete this written, thing that could be provided to them, that's going to be returned to Lisa, and then Lisa's going to share that with us through an email.
Yes, and my thinking is you don't need both. Now, if commissioners want to do, my thinking is if they give, I'm going to do the exit interview, happy to do it. We don't need to do the written questionnaire on top of that. If it says, well, I'm going to decline the exit interview, then we send them the written questionnaire. Jerry, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I kind of don't like the written afterwards, because we have no proof that the person is actually filling it out is actually the employee. There's no way to verify that it's a legitimate form that's filled out by the person that's supposed to be doing it.
And there's no follow-up. There's no follow-up with the written. I mean, it could, I don't know. I'm in agreement with Jerry. Either it's a face-to-face or it's nothing for me.
Bob, what are you thinking?
I could go both ways, but I do like the idea of not to put any additional pressure on somebody leaving us. Make it as simple as possible. 2 commissioners, meet with them if they're willing to, and if they're not, evidently they're happy to move on without any discussion.
And I kind of like to have the questionnaire in our back pocket. And I'll tell you why. I really have some I really have some thoughts I want to leave the city with, but I just can't make it on the dates that have been established on availabilities of 2 commissioners or to meet the offboarding. But I do have some thought. I want to have a mechanism for the commission to collect that. So I guess it's exit interview. My thinking is exit interview. If you decline the exit interview, you're declining the questionnaire. If you're unavailable for the dates that are set up, then we offer you the written questionnaire. I mean, we're looking for feedback if they want to provide it. And I want to give them as many tools as possible to provide that. That's my thinking.
But if I hear what you're saying, Gary, if they're in Lisa's office, they're available. And if what you're saying is there's not 2 commissioners that can meet, then it's only under those circumstances would I be in favor of written. But if there are 2 commissioners available the day that they meet in Lisa's office and they decline a face-to-face, then
okay.
that would be my only
And I assume we're talking that any 2 of the 5 commissioners.
Correct.
I would think first and foremost, and we can talk about this quickly. I would think the liaison for sure should be one,
if possible.
Right, if possible, if available. And then we basically say who's available. Commissioner Mrozek, are you available? Commissioner Ostrowski, Commissioner Westcott, and we kind of go from there. Commissioner Mrozek, I know you have to go here in a moment. Do you have a final thought before we move on here? Probably try and bring some closure on this.
Are we going to be putting this to vote? I mean, I can stick around a little bit to, just make sure. I mean, I just like that we're changing the process.
Right.
And I would think between the 5 of us that there should be 2 people available. I mean, I don't think everyone go at the same time. I think it can work, and it's going to be I think it's going to be a better offering to our employees that are leaving than what has been in the past.
All right, let me see if I can bring some closure to this. I'm going to move that the Police and Fire Commission formally adopt a procedure where 2 commissioners are participating in the exit interview to be offered to them. Lisa would do that as part of offboarding process. If they respond in the affirmative, she would work to schedule 2 commissioners. The commission would then do the exit interview and share the information with commissioners. If for whatever reason they can't make it and it's unable to participate, I'm willing to at least hold in reserve that written questionnaire, or the ability for an individual, maybe it doesn't have to be the questionnaire, of an individual say, well, you know, thank you, great employee, Logan Beveridge. You're a fine writer. Maybe you'd like to put a few thoughts in writing and submit it to the commission as a backup to at least say, we're interested and we want to hear from you. And that process would begin as soon as possible, immediately. General, second?
No.
Jerry?
Second. Yeah, I mean, do you want a first on this or second?
I just needed somebody to second it.
No.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, I have a comment.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The only way I would be willing for that paper questionnaire to be done would be if 2 of us couldn't be there and it was done in Lisa's office during the exit procedure.
Thereby, she's verifying it's being done by that person.
Correct.
Yeah, I kind of like that, Jerry. Yeah. Joe? Bob?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I'm content with that.
Lisa, any thoughts? Because we're now having them do the homework assignment in your office.
My only thought would be that it should be in a policy form, so that if an employee questions, you know, why can't I take that with me, I can show that that is the direction of the Police and Fire Commission via this policy.
All right. Well, one thing we're really good at is writing down here. So we'll take care. We'll give you the cover on that. Logan, any parting thought before I do a quick vote on this, sir?
Only to mention that Lisa's office is very small and 4 people in there is probably a little uncomfortably tight.
Oh, we could use yours.
Yeah.
No,
There's
It's not
plenty of
much
rooms.
better. It's a little better.
well, and let's not rule out. We could do Zoom too. I mean, technology is not going to.
I don't think the location needs to be codified in the policy.
No, I don't either. I don't
More
think it's
eloquent way to put it.
all right. We're clear on the motion.
Yep.
2 commissioners, exit interview. We're offering it as part of the offboarding. I like Jerry's idea of, well, if for whatever reason you can't make it, then you can do the questionnaire and submit it. But we're verifying that this is done. Question? Comment? Okay, we have a motion and some seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Both say no. All right, we'll get it in writing and get it distributed to Lisa and the city attorney's office too. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right, now let's back. And thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Logan. All right, let's back up now to the entry level hiring list for the fire service. Chief Finn, I'll call on you.
Thank you very much, Scott. I believe in your packet you have a new list, as I talked about last month, that we tried to interview candidates before we did get all the test results. Once we got all the test results, we came up with the list. That's the one presented before you. We do have a current list that is valid today, or was valid. When I called that person on the list, she informed me that she did not meet all the qualifications of that she needed at the time of hiring. So I told her that we had a pass on her. What I'm asking for is approval of this list today. And also, if this list is approved, approval as soon as the meeting's over with, to offer these guys 3, each one of them a conditional offer of employment, because we'd like to get them in here for a fire academy that starts either November the 8th or the 15th. And with all the processing, it's cutting it real short. And then also, anybody that's interested in wanting to be a firefighter paramedic at Stevens Point, you can go to GeoGov up until this Friday. We'll be running our own test on GeoGov closes at the end of business on October the 8th. The written will be October the 16th, and November 3rd is the tentative dates for interviews. And that will be the end of the hiring process until 2022.
Chief, say those dates again one more time.
For the list that if you approve this list, we're gonna give conditional offer of employment.
Okay,
We want to get them hired and start the fire academy November the 8th or November the 15th. Because they're in the academy 6 to 8 weeks. That way they will be counted as manpower on January 1st. Also, if you go to GeoGov, you can apply to be a firefighter medic in Stevens Point to the end of business on Friday. We are running a written exam on Saturday, October the 16th. And then we will do interviews tentatively November the 3rd.
and so how many members are we short after these three, if these three accept?
Three were short 5, I believe.
And so this next process of October 16th, that would try to hire those people?
So we will be short 4.
Short 4, okay.
Okay, with the hire in 83, we're officially short 4. And we've had one guy deployed since March of 2021 for COVID for the National Guard. We're expecting him back by the end of the year. So,
Bob, if I understand this right, we're really down 7 positions.
right now we are down 7 positions. That's not counting guys out on medical or deployed, correct?
Okay, and the soonest we'd be filling in them is right after the first of the year.
No, if you approve this list, we're gonna hire these, as soon as this meeting's over with, I'm gonna call them up and offer them a job.
Oh,
And
okay.
they will go in the fire academy in November. They will start counting as manpower in January. In addition to this,
Where is that fire academy at? Right locally?
we host our own fire academy now.
Okay.
Training Officer Howard, Division Chief Howard, put together a fire academy, and we just had our first graduating class this year.
Okay.
2 come out of there. But us running our own test, hopefully we'll get another 3 or 4 people that we can hire by the end of the year.
Based upon your dates, Chief, it sounds like your internal hiring process is about 3 weeks, is that right?
From the time we post it until they get, it takes about a month for all them. Is that after they're offered conditional offer of employment? Is that what you're talking about, Joe?
Yeah, from the time that we post it to the time that interviews are over and got your think squared away.
I don't think
Joe was nodding his head yes. It's about 3 weeks to a month. Gemza, you were nodding your head yes.
Yeah, so that process where we get bogged down in is all the pre-employment, and it's not being bogged down. It's when we get the evaluations for the physicals, when we get the psychological evaluations, the background checks, and those types of things. Those take at least another month to get due to the scheduling. We just can't seem to get them in any faster.
Right, but my point is we're not taking months and months and months to hire people.
No.
Yeah,
no.
that's what I was getting at.
I didn't know if you were asking how long it takes to compose a list, or once the list is approved, it usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks, because even though they offer the conditional offer of employment, after they pass everything, we want to give them the ability to offer their current employer at least a 2-week notice.
Sure,
So
it's just to get the list.
Right.
Okay.
Chief Finn, these 3 candidates, are they not only firefighter trained, but are they paramedic also?
2 of them are firefighter medic. One is a firefighter, and the other has completed paramedic school in the process of taking his paramedic test.
Okay, so by the time of actual hiring, they would probably all be.
Correct. But the one that has not completed, has not taken his National Registry test yet, his conditional offer of employment says he has to obtain a nationally registered paramedic within his first year of employment.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good. Are there questions? If not, I'm going to make a motion that the Police and Fire Commission approve the fire department entry-level hiring list as submitted by Chief Finn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Moore. Any questions? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, Chief, go hire him.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Commission.
All right, item number 9, Police Chief's report. Chief Zenner, you have the floor.
All right, got a few things I wanted to point out on the report, and I'm going to be leaving here shortly. Sergeant Blue and K9 Barry are down in Wisconsin Dells right now at a conference. They're going to be receiving a statewide narcotics find of the year award, and that will be presented to him, I think about 5:30. So myself, Assistant Chief Kuso and Lieutenant Mueller, who oversees the K9 program, will be heading down there to represent. We're currently going through a hiring process ourselves. We've been sitting on one officer position for quite some time. We're going to get that filled. We have 5 applicants right now that are being backgrounded by our investigations bureau, and I anticipate by the time we get around to November PFC, if we follow the process that we've been doing during the COVID era in Zoom, I will present a name at the next PFC. Am I correct, President Westcott?
That is correct. That
Okay.
is correct.
We are currently beginning our training process for the new records management system. That's the Motorola Spillman system that we partnered with Portage County, Plover, UWSP. We actually have our first batch of officers going through training on that today, and we anticipate that going live by the beginning of next year. Another thing I didn't add into the chief's report, but I did want to talk about our squad changeover. As you know, our budget from last year, we had 10 squads that we received off the Capitol. 5 of them are still sitting, other than they look like police squads, because we have the markings on the side. We don't have the equipment changeover on that, and that's really tied in with limited vendors we have, and the one vendor we have in town is swamped and trying to get parts in. So Lieutenant Williams, who is on today, has been doing an outstanding job of holding our vendor to the fire and getting those squads done. But we do still sit with 5. On a bright note and trying to put a good spin on it, we may be able to move forward in the future of something that would probably benefit us, other than doing a full squad changeover per year, that we could go into a off year, 3 this year, 5 next year, or something of that order, that it might assist us, because by the time these get out on the road, we're probably going to be sitting on new ones for a year anyways. So we will be evaluating that, and hopefully we get these out by the end of the year. A couple events that took place, priority calls, I wanted to touch base on too. A suspicious activity over on the Shell station on Stanley Street. We received a call of a potential drug deal, anonymous tip that came in. We ended up having our investigators going over there and officers. The vehicle did take off. Traffic stop was conducted. During that traffic stop, as the officer walked up, I believe it was Officer Gomez, the passenger of the vehicle, basically consumed the drugs, which was heroin, and immediately went into an overdose in front of the officer, became a pulseless non-breather. We did administer Narcan. The individual did survive and was transported by EMTs, eventually found his way up to Wausau ICU. So we deal with that one in particular. It's not the first time, obviously, that we administered Narcan. It's not common to have a situation happen right before the officer's eyes. And Officer Gomez responded as we expected and as he was trained. And the situation was mitigated successfully. The other one I wanted to touch base on, this did get some media attention. We had a disturbance up at 501 Johns Drive, an apartment complex. You may have read about that. It was an incident. AR style long gun was discharged. A couple of rounds. The victim was also strangulated. Question appears that he would have lost consciousness too. Lieutenant Moss, John Moss, who's also the commander of our SWAT team, he was the shift supervisor that night, and excellent response to that location, and some quick intel to determine where our potential suspect was residing. We set up a perimeter, and long story short, our suspect did exit the house, appeared to smoke a cigarette, and we had officers at that perimeter and were able to take him into custody without incident. That long gun was recovered at that residence. Other than that, and President Westcott pointed out, K9 Fala actually is not on family leave. It would be Austin Lee, the handler of Fala, is on family leave, and Fala's at the residence, obviously, with them. So other than that, we've got a few officers in training. Assistant Chief Cousseau is attending Command College down in Fort McCoy. Lieutenant Williams is attending leadership in police organizations. You may hear us use the acronym LPO. She's attending that over in La Crosse, and Lieutenant Brooks is down in Kenosha. 3 excellent schools, and we have put a priority on education for our command staff and our supervisory staff, and we're rounding that off. I believe we have had all our supervisors now attend LPO.
Excellent. Questions for Chief Center? Commissioner Ostrowski, you were first.
2 of them, Chief, on the K9 unit, the $5,000 donation, what is that going to be used for?
That goes into whether it's for medical expenses, equipment for the dog, food, and I mean, most of that program is basically funded completely by donations. And depending on the money that we have in there, obviously we think long-term that may be used to eventually purchase another canine in the future. But as for right now, the expenses that do go into, and sometimes it comes up, training opportunities that we try to keep that within the budget and use that just for the equipment for the dogs, but sometimes with the training opportunities that come up, that we can use that for.
Well, but thank you very much. For one thing, I think that shows that the community is supporting the dogs with that kind of response. The other thing is, I'd just like to personally say to your department, September 22nd, by looking at these incidents, I got to say I want to praise your officers, because those 3 incidents in one day are not what I would have expected in our community. And I want to thank you for the professional force you're leading.
Thank you. And it is, I give it to our officers, and we have discussed this at previous PFCs. We have seen an increase in the, I guess, the extent, the more violent calls that we've responded to. And it has shown as an increase, and the use of force did look like we did take a little bit of a dip last month. But we also had one of our, first time I'm aware of this, or we have tracked that one of our canines were deployed on an individual, and as a takedown, the individual did get away, went over a fence. I guess we've seen that many times in the movies, and it actually happened in real life. The suspect was able to get away from Canine Barry, but was apprehended shortly thereafter with minor injuries. So,
thank you, Chief. Thank you, Department, also.
Commissioner Moore.
Oh, I was going to make a motion to accept the report and place it on file.
All right. Is there a second?
Kirschling, second.
Thank you, Commissioner Kirschling. Before I do a vote, I just want to commend Chief Center for the report he circulated among the commissioners from Lexipol concerning mental health. At some point in the near future, we're going to ask the chief to provide an update. There was a comprehensive report on mental health issues presented to the commission some time ago. It's probably time to update that. All in favor of approving? Yes, Alderperson. Where are you? Alderperson, there you are.
Since you're talking about these incidents, I see Lieutenant Williams is on the Zoom here. I really appreciate the updates that we get as alder people as these things are happening. And I just wanted to give some kudos to Lieutenant Williams. While you're all here, we do appreciate knowing what's going on. So kudos.
Yes, Lieutenant Williams does an exceptional job of communicating with the commission, with alders, and with other folks that need to be communicated with. She's doing a good job. So thank you. All in favor of accepting the chief's report, place on file, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next up on the agenda, we're going to talk just a moment about the annual evaluations for the police and fire chief. The evaluations, I think both Bob and Tom have received communication from Human Resources. The deadline for submitting completed evaluations is Friday, December the 3rd. So commissioners, I would like you to again begin the self-evaluation process working with the chiefs. Now, one could argue, do we want to do one with Chief Finn? I'm inclined to think we should do the process.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you let me double check, but you may need it to get the pay increase you might be anticipating in January. Remember, successful evaluation upon completion, that little part of the.
Yeah, but at the end of this year is the end for the state of Wisconsin. They consider it your last full year.
Yeah, so, good point. Good point. All right.
January 3rd is like, okay.
Not going to count?
Nope. That does, I guess it counts, but it's not going to be. It's not.
Would you like to do an exit interview, Chief?
All right.
We'll
let's
talk
begin.
again. Never mind.
Let's begin the process with Chief Zenner, and Jerry, you and Tom can begin the self-evaluation process, and we'll work to schedule evaluation in front of the commission at some point in November.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions? All right. Commissioner Kirschland, are you still with us?
Yep.
All right. I'm going to defer what I was going to talk about here today as part of the president's report. We have a lot of work to assemble the pieces on a fire chief and next steps from evaluation review of the job description commissioners to rewriting some of those narratives that we talked about earlier. I think Joseph, I will try. I don't know that I'm as optimistic as you. I get moving aggressively. I understand that. But there's a number of things that we're going to have to do. So if commissioners are available, we'll see where things fall later this week. It's Tuesday afternoon. I can't imagine we're going to be ready by Thursday. So we'll do the best we can.
Well,
okay.
And I appreciate that. I don't want to put it out 3 weeks and then it's 3 weeks from there. And then I just want to get it done and start the process sooner rather than later. And from what I've heard, it sounds like the other commissioners are in favor of that.
Oh yeah, I think we all want to move efficiently, but we also want to move effectively.
Sure.
And Bob Finn is certainly going to be this chief until January the 3rd, and I have no reason to believe this city will not receive anything less than 100% from Chief Finn between now and January the 3rd. So we have a little time to move efficiently and effectively. All right.
Sounds good.
With that, I'm going to move adjournment. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Ostrowski. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Or say no. Tom, make sure you give the Sergeant and K9 Barry the commission's best and congratulate him for us when you go see him, okay?
I will. Thank you very much. And Mary, I'm going to send you that report that President Westcott was discussing on mental health calls. I'll forward that to you, so you should be getting that in the email.
All right, folks. Goodbye.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.